All right, welcome to our explainer. Today we're wading into some pretty interesting territory. It's this whole world that exists right alongside mainstream science, holistic practices, ancient traditions. We call it alternative medicine. But what does that label actually mean? Let's get into it.
Reiki, homeopathy, biofield tuning. I mean, you've heard these words thrown around, right? They're everywhere. But what's the common thread? What actually connects all these different things? And, how do they stack up against the medicine you get from your doctor? That's what we're going to try to figure out today.
Okay, so to even begin to get a handle on this, we've got to start with the language. And trust me, as you're about to see, it is definitely a bit of a maze.
I mean, look at this list. Complementary, integrated, holistic, natural, fringe. It seems like these words are just used interchangeably, right? And, well, it's not really an accident. The language has actually changed a lot over the years, and a lot of that comes down to branding choices by the practitioners themselves. And all this constant rebranding, it makes it really, really tough to have a straightforward conversation about what we're even talking about.
So, to cut through all that noise, let's get to a clear, critical definition. Here it is. Alternative medicine isn't really defined by what it is. It's defined by what it isn't. And what it isn't is a set of practices that has been proven effective using scientific methods. That's the key right there.
Okay, I know that's still a little abstract. So to make this way more concrete, let's zoom in on one specific example, one practice that fits right under this big umbrella. It's a method called biofield tuning.
So, biofield tuning is built on this idea of a biofield. It's this energy field that proponents believe surrounds every one of us, and it supposedly acts like a living record of our entire lives. The whole idea is that you can use tuning forks to, read and tune this energy field.
The way it's supposed to work is a practitioner takes a tuning fork and scans this biofield. They're listening for dissonance or static in the field, and that static supposedly corresponds to specific traumas or memories or emotions. Then, they use the vibration of the fork to clear those disturbances, and the goal, of course, is to bring you some kind of relief.
Now, this whole idea of sound and vibration, it doesn't just stop with the human body. Oh no, some of these theories take it way further. They suggest there's this incredibly deep connection between sound, energy, and, get this, the very fabric of reality.
And that brings us to this concept called the toroidal field. Think of it like a donut-shaped energy pattern. In some of these philosophies, this shape is considered a fundamental building block of the entire universe. It's seen as a kind of gateway, a channel for cosmic energy and information to flow through.
Okay, and this is where it gets really wild. The theory goes that our own voices, specifically the vowels we speak, can actually generate these powerful energy fields. So, for example, the vowel A is said to create this big, expansive field of openness and creativity. Meanwhile, the vowel E supposedly creates a spiral of transformation and growth.
So if you follow this line of thinking, the implication is, it's profound. It means our speech isn't just about communication. It's an act of creation. Every single word we say is sending an energetic signature out into the cosmos, literally shaping reality around us. That's the idea anyway.
Okay, so we've walked through some of the claims. Now let's do a hard pivot here and ask a totally different question. How does the world of evidence-based biomedical science look at all this? What's their take?
Well, this quote from a former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine really sums up the scientific viewpoint. The argument is actually pretty simple. They'd say the only distinction that matters isn't conventional versus alternative. Nope. It's between medicine that's been properly tested and proven to work and medicine that hasn't.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson puts it even more bluntly. He basically says, if you take an alternative medicine and it actually passes a double-blind lab test, you just call it medicine. From this perspective, if something is proven to be safe and effective, it doesn't matter where it came from. It's not alternative anymore. It's just medicine.
So let's look at the scientific critique for a few of these common practices. Take homeopathy. The big issue here is that the dilutions are often so extreme that chemically speaking, it's pretty unlikely a single molecule of the original stuff is even left in the final product. And with biofield therapy, the fundamental problem from a scientific standpoint is that the existence of these biofields has never actually been proven with empirical evidence.
And that brings us to the general consensus from the biomedical science community. When you look at the whole picture, the conclusion is that these therapies
as a group, just haven't met the burden of proof. They lack the scientific validation needed to be considered proven treatments.
Okay, so if the scientific evidence just isn't there, that begs a really, really important question, right? Why are these practices and products so popular? Why do they stick around? Well, there are a bunch of really powerful drivers. For a lot of people, the appeal is a non-drug approach, something that feels more natural or holistic. Sometimes that's connected to a genuine distrust of mainstream medicine, big pharma. Then there's the incredible power of a personal story. An anecdote from a friend often feels so much more real and compelling than a page of clinical trial data. And this is a big one, you can't overlook the importance of having a practitioner who really listens to you, who makes you feel seen and heard. That therapeutic relationship can be incredibly powerful.
And this is pretty striking. The very first university professor of complementary medicine, a guy named Edzard Ernst, he dedicated his career to studying this stuff. And after looking at countless therapies, he came to a pretty staggering conclusion. He estimated that a full 95% of them are, in his words, statistically indistinguishable from placebo treatments.
So that kind of brings us full circle right back to that central question. If a therapy, it doesn't matter where it comes from, is put through rigorous scientific testing and is proven to be safe and effective, should we even call it alternative, or is it just medicine? That's the big question to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.